Hello friends, welcome to our today's online session. In today's online session, we'll be discussing atomic models, history of atomic theories and models proposed till now. This is the first online lecture which I'll be conducting for the course Atomic and Molecular Physics. Myself, Professor Ravikiran Latte, welcomes you on all to our YouTube channel Basics of Physics. So let us start with our first lecture. In today's lecture, the outline of the lecture will be as follows. The today's lecture, it has been divided into five different topics or five different segments. The first segment is in which we will be discussing what is atom based on the theories which was proposed. After that, we'll be discussing what are the different theories are there which were proposed in order to understand what is the structure of an atom. In the following the theories proposed by the various scientists, we'll be discussing their merits and demerits, and depending upon the their outcome, how the different models were developed, that we will discuss in the how idea about the atoms were changed over the years, and in the last session we'll conclude with the today's lecture. That's it for the today's session. So let us start with our topic. Introduction. In the introduction, let me show you some of the pictures. These are the five different pictures I'm showing you. These pictures are nothing but these are the different models which were proposed by the different scientists from it starting from the 18th century to the 20th century. So you just have to remember, just have a look at these pictures, and at the end of the presentation you will find that how these pictures were proposed and how the demerits of each first picture, these were removed in the second picture's demerits were removed in the third, and so on. So let us start with the first module which was proposed in the year 1803, which was famously known as the solid sphere model, which was proposed by the chemist Dalton in his famous Dalton's atomic theory. See, in 18th century, the science and technology at that point, it was not that much developed. So you were not having a special type of microscopes or different kinds of microscopic techniques were not there at that time. People were not knowing what is atom at that point. So it was the era when people were guessing what should be a matter, what matter consists of. So it was the Dalton who came up with his theory in the year 1803, in which he proposed that all elements are composed of tiny indivisible particles called atoms. From this assumption, we can say that, as we can see over here, what he was saying is that all elements are composed of a small tiny particles. All elements are composed of small tiny individual particles, and which he called it as an atom. So first time he gave a definition for an atom, and he proposed that the atom is nothing but it is an individual part of any element. Okay. And also he proposed that atoms of the same element are identical. You have to focus on the two words, atoms of same element are identical, which he proposed, which we know that in today's era that it is not correct statement. Also he proposed that atom of any one element are different from any other element, which is true in the today's world as well. Also, he proposed that different elements combine in stoichiometric or whole number proportion to form a chemical compound. Means, for example, if you consider a water molecule, he proposed that for water molecule, you will require certain number of hydrogen atoms and certain number of oxygen atoms, and those will be whole numbers. Those will be whole numbers. Okay. So, according to him, or which is true in today's present time as well, because atom combines in a whole proportion, or whole numbers they combine to form a chemical compound. Okay, so depending upon that one, let me tell you one thing is that if you consider the Dalton's contribution to the atomic theory, I'll suggest that he was the first person who recognized atoms of a particular element differ from other element. Means for example, if you have a hydrogen atom and if you have a sodium atom, they will have different atoms. Okay, different element will have different atom. Okay, that was the contribution given by the Dalton to the atomic theory. But what I feel is that it has some of the demerits which I have listed below. The first demerit was Dalton was wrong about about the idea that all elements of same type are identical. Means for example, if I consider a carbon with mass number 12, and if I consider carbon with a mass number 13, both have a same atomic number but their masses will be different, and we call such a kind of compounds as an isotope. We call such a kind of compounds isotope. Means the statement which was proposed by the Dalton, that same element have same atoms. Okay, or that was not true, or means same atoms will have same elements, or same kind of elements will have same atoms. That is not true, because a same carbon can have a its isotope as well. So that was the statement which was not correct as far as the today's science is concerned. Now if you consider, according to him, atoms are not indivisible. Atoms are not indivisible. Now we know that from the nuclear physics that atoms are nothing but they are composed of a subatomic particles. Quarks or antiquarks, these are the particles which are there, and from that one the atom is made up of. So the statement which was made by the Dalton, that atoms are not indivisible, that was not a correct statement as far as the atomic arrangement of the subatomic particles is considered. Now with this one, one of the physicists whose name was J.J. Thomson, he proposed a modified version of the Dalton's atomic model, and that is nothing but the Plum-Pudding model. Okay, it was proposed in the year 1903, after exactly 100 years. Okay, it took around 100 years to propose a J.J. Thomson's to modify that model, and that was proposed in the year 1903. What is this Plum-Pudding model is? We all of us have seen what is watermelon is. In watermelon, if you open the watermelon, inside a watermelon you will find a solid part, and within that solid part, red color solid part, within that solid part you have a seeds. You have a seeds, and these seeds are evenly distributed. So J.J. Thomson came up with an idea. He proposed that Dalton's billiard ball, it is composed of embedded charges. It is composed of embedded charges, and he proposed that the atom is not which Dalton has proposed, but it looks like this, which is shown over here in this figure. So the atom will look like this, in which the positive charge and negative charge are evenly distributed in the billiard ball, Dalton's billiard ball. And he proposed that atom composed of scattered electron throughout a spherical cloud of positively charged. Okay, and he was the first person who recognized that electron is a part of a atom. Electron is a part of the atom, and this he was able to propose because in the year 1987 he conducted one experiment famously known as the cathode ray experiment to discover the existence of an electron, which he termed as an corpuscles in that time. Okay, and this was conducted in the year 1987, for which he won a he were awarded with the Nobel Prize. So if you consider, J.J. Thomson was the first person who proposed that electron are a constituent particle of an atom, but he was not able to explain some of the experimental results which were proposed by his student, whose name was Rutherford, depending upon his one of the famous experiment that we will be discussing now. So the next model which was proposed, it was proposed by the Ernest Rutherford, and it was known as the nuclear model. What Rutherford proposed, during a scattering experiment of a alpha particle with a gold foil. This is the gold foil. This is a gold foil, and on this gold foil, this alpha particle beam was going in this fashion. In this fashion, the beam was allowed to fall on that gold foil, and what he assuming that gold foil is very thin, what he observed is that most of the particles went straight through the gold film and very few alpha particles were deflected. Now considering the J.J. Thomson's atomic model, he tried to explain the things. What he was expecting with the J.J. Thomson's model is that alpha particles, which are positively charged particles, which are nothing but the helium nuclei. That time it was known that alpha particles are a helium nuclei. So what he proposed is that if alpha particles are positively charged, okay, and if positive charge is thoroughly distributed within a billiard ball, which was proposed by the J.J. Thomson, this particle should move in the way in which it is shown in the figure. They must go from this point to this point. Okay, in this fashion they must go. But he was expecting this result, but he doesn't observe this. He expected the result which were not observed by him. So depending upon the experimental outcomes, he proposed that as most of the alpha particles go straight line through the gold foil, whereas very few particles were deflected in this fashion. These are the deflected particles, and these are the particles which are going in forward direction. So he proposed that atom has mostly empty space, and at the center of the atom, you have a small dense center with a positive charge. There is a small dense center with a positive charge at the center of the atom, and Rutherford named it as an nucleus. So it was the major breakthrough of that time. Rutherford first time he realized that positive charge in a atom is localized, and that was called as an nucleus. And depending upon that result, he proposed a model that in an atom at the center positively charged region, it has a very high density which is very small as compared to the total size of the atom. Okay, and that he named as an nucleus, and around that nucleus electrons are moving in the way which it is shown in this figure. But Rutherford model does not explain why electron remains in orbit around the nucleus. He was not able to explain why these electrons revolves around the nucleus in this fashion. Why these electrons are moving around the nucleus? Why don't they fall inside the nucleus? Okay. Now, in order to remove this discrepancy of the Rutherford model, it was Niels Bohr in the 1913. He proposed a planetary model which is known as semi-classical model, um, that was the time when quantum mechanics was started to develop. Okay, Albert Einstein has that time in the year 1905, Albert Einstein proposed the idea of photoelectric effect and quantization of energy. So it was the Neil Bohr who used the concept of quantization of energy and Planck's constant, and he proposed that by modifying the Rutherford model, that electrons moves around the nucleus in orbit of fixed energy and fixed size. He proposed that electrons move around the nucleus in this fashion. Electrons move around the nucleus in the circular orbit of fixed energy and fixed size. Even he calculated the energy of that electron, which is coming out to be minus 13.6 electron volt. Okay, and also he calculated the size of the orbit of the hydrogen atom, and he proposed that energy is quantized and electron could not occupy the values of energy between the fixed energy levels. Means electron have first energy level can have minus 13.6, second energy will have certain fixed value. Okay, it cannot have in between values. So quantization of the energy was proposed. It was a major breakthrough which was already starting of a quantum mechanics era. He proposed a Neil Bohr work was contributed for majorly in order to for his Neil planetary model, in which he proposed that stable electronic orbits explain stable electronic orbit, which he proposed, and also he was able to explain the emission spectra of the hydrogen atom. But though he was able to explain the emission spectra of the hydrogen atom, but he was not able to explain so many other things. What are those so many other things were there? He was not able to explain why this electron, if it is moving, why doesn't it fall inside the nucleus? He was not able to explain. Also, though he has given a semi-classical reasons, though he has given a some semi-classical reasons, but he was not truly able to explain why does not electron collapse into the nucleus. Also, he was not able to explain why electron which is moving around the nucleus, it does not emit a electromagnetic radiation, or it does not emit a energy. It is a well-known fact from the electromagnetic theory that, and which was known at that time as well, whenever there is an electric charge, if it is accelerated or decelerated, it will emit an electromagnetic radiation. So he was also not able to explain why electron moving around the nucleus not emitting a radiation. Also, he was not able to explain why electrons does not collapse into the nucleus, and this model was not applicable to the heavier atoms, for example lithium, beryllium, or boron, or carbon, which were those atoms which were having the atomic number greater than 1. For them, this model was unable to explain their emission spectrum. Okay, so that was the demerits of the Bohr's model. Now it was the time when quantum mechanics started to develop. It was the Louis de Broglie, Heisenberg who put their idea of the matter waves and the Heisenberg's uncertainty. And Erwin Schrödinger, he proposed one of the model in which he stated that electrons do not move in set path around the nucleus, but it is having a wave associated with that. It is having a wave associated with that we call it as a matter wave. In also he explained that it is impossible, the way we are saying that we can localize a electron inside an atom, but he proposed that it is impossible to know the exact location of the electron. You cannot determine the exact location of the electron. Instead, we can have a probability cloud of cloud with some probability than where you can get higher number of chances of finding an electron. You'll get some more number of chances of finding a electron, and that we call it as an orbital. You have a different orbital, s orbital, p orbital, d orbital, and f orbital, which was actually originated from this Schrodinger's quantum model, which he proposed in the year 1926. Now what the model which was proposed by him, it is shown over here. It is shown over here, which consists of a positive charged nucleus at the center, and the electrons, they can be found in a sphere with uniform distribution, and finding of an electron within that region, that will be decided by its probability density. So that was the most important model which was proposed in the physics, and which is accepted and which is valid till today as well. So it was the Erwin Schrödinger who showed that electrons don't move around the nucleus but in clouds where the position is uncertain. This model is still widely accepted and the most accurate model of the atom. Also, the current understanding of the atom is based on the quantum model of the quantum model which was proposed by the Erwin Schrödinger in the year 1926. Now we see that we started with the 18th century. We started with the 18th century in the 1803 with John Dalton. When he proposed his solid sphere model, his contribution was he recognized that atoms of particular element differ from each other, but he was not able to explain the fact that atoms aren't indivisible. The idea which he proposed, that atoms are indivisible, but he was in today's world we know that atoms are consist of subatomic particles. In the next model which was proposed by the J.J. Thomson in the year 1904, that model recognized electron as an component of the atom, but this model was not able to explain the Rutherford backscattering experiment. Okay, so it was the Ernest Rutherford in the 19th century, 1911, he proposed that atom consists of a small dense region at the center of the atom which is positively charged, which he termed as a nucleus. Okay, and it has a negative drop, or it has a demerit, that this model was not able to explain why these electrons are moving around the nucleus. Fourth model which we had seen, it was a Niels Bohr model, which was the planetary model, in which he assumed that electrons are revolving around the nucleus as if the all planets in our galaxy revolving around the sun. And first time in the history of the physics, he proposed a concept of stable electron orbit and also he was able to explain the emission spectra of the hydrogen atom. Successfully he has explained the emission spectra of the atom, but he was not able to explain the emission spectra of the helium atom, which was the main drawback of this model. Okay, also he was not able to explain when an electron moving around the nucleus in a planetary model in this fashion, why electron does not emit an electromagnetic radiation. He was not able to explain that as well. It was the it was the idea of the Albert Einstein, Max Planck, Louis de Broglie, Heisenberg, whose all idea, it was composed by the Erwin Schrödinger, and he proposed a quantum model of an atom, and in the year 1926, in which he showed that electrons don't move around the nucleus in orbit, but their position is uncertain within a cloud of an atom. And also this model is still widely accepted as the most accurate model of the atom, and the correct understanding of the atom is based on the quantum mechanics model. Okay, now we'll go to the conclusion of the session, the pictures which I have shown you in the first slide of this presentation, I had shown you these 5 pictures from 18th century to the 19th century. What I want to tell you is that whenever any scientific discovery is there, it takes some times, and it is evolved with the correction of the work which was proposed by the earlier scientist, and the work which was modified by the another scientist. This work further will be modified by the third scientist, and this facts goes on. In this way science develops in our culture. Okay, so that's it for the today's session. I hope you have understood the today's lecture. If you have any doubts, you can comment in the comment box as well. If you feel anything about the today's lecture, you can reach me via WhatsApp group as well. I request everyone to please like the video, share this video with your friends who are preparing for the various competitive exams and the specialization in the physics, for example graduation and post graduation in physics as well. Okay, that's it for the today's session. We'll stop here for today's lecture. Thank you.